여러분들 중간에 휴대폰 사용은 가급적이면 해주시지 않으셨으면 좋겠을 거예요. 그 다음에 플래시를 사용한 카메라 촬영도 자제해 주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 그리고 공연 중간에 저희가 10분, 2막이 끝나고 10분간 인터미션이 있기 때문에요. 조금 자리를 쓰고 싶으시더라도 조금 기다리셨다가 그 10분간 휴식 시간 동안을 이용해 주셨으면 감사드리겠습니다. 그 간에는 가급적이면 좌석에서 일어나시거나 아니면 좌석을 발로 차시거나 뭐 등등 지향해 주셨으면 정말 감사드리겠습니다. 그러면 지금부터 공연을 시작하도록 하겠습니다.
Written by Thornton Wilder, produced by directed by Dong-Kwon, and me, Sujin Kong. The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude 42 degrees 40 minutes, longitude 70 degrees 37 minutes. The first act shows a day in our town, May 7, 1901. Time is just before the dawn. The morning star always gets wonderful bright the minute before it has to go, doesn't it? Well, I better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Way back there is a railway station. Tracks go that way. Polish town over beyond the tracks. Over there is the Congregational Church. Across the street is Presbyterian. Methodist, Unitarian over there. Baptist down in the holler by the river. Catholic Church over beyond the tracks. Here is the town hall and post office combined. Jails in the basement. Here's a row of stores, hitching poles and hose block in front of them. The first automobile is going to come along in about 5 years. Here's the grocery store, the Mr. Morgan's drugstore. Most everybody in town managed to look into those two stores once a day. Public school over yonder, high school farther over. 9:15 morning, noon times, and 3 o'clock afternoons. The whole town can hear yelling and screaming from those schoolyards. This is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs. This is a back door. This is Mrs. Gibbs' garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhocks, and heliotrope, and a lot of burdock. Those days, our newspaper come out twice a week. Robert's Corners, Sentinel. This is Editor Webb's house. This is Mrs. Webb's garden, just like Mrs. Gibbs, only it's got a lot of sunflowers too. Nice town, you know what I mean? Nobody ever remarkable ever come out of it, as far as we know. We always tombstone in the cemetery up there say 1670, 6080. They have Roberts, Cutbright, Gibsons, Hushes. Same names as are around here now. As I said, it's about dawn. The only lights on in town are in a cottage over by the track, where a Polish mother just had twins, and in the Joe Kroll house, where Joe Jr. is getting up so as to deliver the paper. And in the depot where Shorty Hawkins is getting ready to flag the 545 for Boston. Naturally, out in the country, all around, there have been some lights on for what with milking and so on. But town people sleep late. So, another day's begun. There's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street, coming back from that baby case. And here's his wife coming downstairs to make breakfast. Doc Gibbs died in 1930. The new hospital named after him. Mrs. Gibbs died first. Long time ago, in fact. She went out to visit her daughter Rebecca, who married an insuranceman in Canton, Ohio. And died there. But her body was brought back here. She's up in the cemetery now, and with a whole mess of Gibbsies and Hersheys. In our town, we like to know the facts about everybody. Oh, there's a Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to get breakfast too. That's Doc Gibbs. Got that call at 1:30 this morning. And there comes Joe Kroll Jr., delivering Mr. Webb's Sentinel.
Morning, Doc Gibbs.
Morning, Joe.
Somebody been sick, no?
No, just some twins over in college.
Do you want the paper now?
Yes, I'll take it. Anything serious going on in the world since Wednesday?
Yes, sir. My school teacher, Miss Foster, is getting married to a fellow over in Concord.
I declare. How do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course, it's none of my business. But I think if a person starts out to be a teacher, she ought to stay long.
Oh, how's your knee, Joe?
Just fine. I never think about it at all. Like you said, Kirby tells me when it's going to rain.
What's it telling me today? Going to rain?
No, sir.
Want to tell you something about that boy, Joe Kroll there. Joe was awful bright. Graduated from high school here, head of his class. So he got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated there, head of his class too. Going to be a great engineer, Joe was. But the war broke out, died in France. All that education for nothing.
Get up, Bessie. What's the matter with you today?
Here comes Tommy Newsom delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Oh, morning, Harvey.
Somebody sick?
Pair of twins over in Mrs. Gorslowski's.
Twins, huh? This town is getting bigger every year. Come on, Bessie.
Hello, Bessie. How old is she, Harvey?
Going on 17. Bessie's all mixed up about the root ever since the lockers stopped taking their coral milk every day. She wants to lead them a court just the same. Keeps going with the whole trip.
Good morning, Harry.
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs.
Doc's just coming down the street, isn't he?
Yeah,
You seem late today.
something went wrong with the separator, but know what it was. Doc?
Harvey.
Children, time to get up.
Come on, Bessie.
George, Rebecca. Everything all right, Frank?
I declare, easy as kittens.
Soup will be ready in a minute. Sit down and drink your coffee. You can catch a couple hours sleep this morning, can't you?
Mrs. Smith was coming up at 11. Guess I know why it's about 2. Her stomach ain't what it ought to be.
Oh, Tord, you won't get more than 3 hours sleep. Frank Gibbs, I don't know what's going to become of you. I do wish I could get you to go away someplace and take a rest.
Family, time to get up. Wally, 7 o'clock.
Frank, you've got to talk to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. He's no help to me at all. I can't even get him to come meet some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
No, he just whines. All he thinks about is that baseball. George! Rebecca! You'll be late for school! George!
George, look sharp.
Yes, Pa.
Don't you hear your mother calling you?
Wally, Emily, you'll be late for school. Wally, wash yourself good or I come up and do it myself.
Ma, what dress should I wear? Don't make a noise. Your father's been out all night.
Sharon, the blue gingham for you special.
Ma, I hate the dress.
Oh, hush up with you.
Every day I go to school dressed like a sick turkey.
Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice.
Mama, George's story so bad me.
I come and slap the both of you. That's what I do.
Children now won't have it. Breakfast is just as good as any other meal, and now won't have you gobbling like wolf. It'll stunt your growth, that's a fact. Where are you going, Chloe?
Oh, Ma, by 10 o'clock I got to know all about Canada.
You know the rules well as I do. No books at table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright. I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age. I have a wonderful memory. Eat your breakfast.
I'm bright too. When I'm looking at my stamp collection.
I speak to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me like 25 cents or cents. Enough for your age. I declare. I don't know how you spend it all.
Ma, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry phosphate. That's what you spend it on?
I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I've been saying about Virgil.
Well, dear, I think it's a good thing to spend some every now and then.
Mama, do you know what I love most in the world, do you? Money.
Eat your breakfast.
Oh, Mama, there's first bell.
I gotta hurt
I don't want it anymore.
Walk fast, but you don't have to run. Wally, blow your pants at the knees. Stand up straight, Emily.
Hey, Miss Foster, I sent her my best congratulations. Can you remember that?
Yes, Ma.
You look real nice, Rebecca. Pick up your feet.
Goodbye.
Here, chick, chick, chick. No, go away, you. Go away. Here, chick, chick, chick. What's the matter with you? Fight, fight, fight. That's all you do. You don't belong to me. Where'd you come from? Oh, don't be scared. Nobody's gonna hurt you. Good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold?
Well, I still get the tickling feeling in my throat. I told Charles I didn't know he's I'd go to choir practice tonight. Wouldn't be any use. Well, I'm resting myself. I thought I'd string some of these beans.
Here, let me help you. Whoa, beans have been good this year.
I've decided to put a birdie quartz if it kills me. The children say they hate him, but I noticed they're able to get him down all winter.
Now, Myrtle, there's something that I've got to tell you because if I don't tell anybody, I burst.
Why, Julia Gibbs?
Myrtle, did one of those second-hand furniture men from Boston come to see you last Friday?
No.
Well, he called on me. At first, I thought he was a patient wanting to see Dr. Gibbs, but he wormed his way into my parlor. And, more to Webb's, he offered me $350 for Grandma Wentworth's highboy as I'm sitting here.
Hi, Julia Gibbs.
He did. That old thing. Why? It was so big. I didn't know what to do with it. And I almost gave it to Cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Well, I don't know.
You don't know? $350. What's come over you?
Well, if I could get the doctor to go take the money and go away someplace on a trip, I'd sell it like that. But you know, Martha, it's always been the dream of my life to see Paris, France. Oh, I know, it sounds crazy and all that, but for years I've been treat for anybody. He says,
Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Dr. Gibbs knows everything about the Civil War.
it's a fact. Dr. Gibbs is never so happy as when he's at Antietam or Gettysburg. The times I spent over those hills, Myrtle, stopping at every bush and pacing it all out, think we are going to buy it.
Well, if that second-hand man's really serious about buying it, join him and sell it. And then you get to see Paris, all right. Just keep dropping hints from time to time. It's hard to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it. It's just that once in your life, you ought to see a country where they don't speak in English and don't even want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Now we are going to skip a few hours. But first, we want a little more information on our town. Kind of scientific account, you might say. Thank you. So, I've asked Professor Willard of our state university to sketch in a few details on our past history here. Is Professor Willard here? May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university? A few brief notes, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Grover's Corners. Let me see. Grover's Corners lies on the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range, I may say. It's one of the oldest lands in the world, and we're very proud of that. A shelf of Devonian basalt crosses with vestiges of Mesozoic shale and some sandstone outcroppings. But that's all more recent. 200, 300 million years old. So many interesting fossils have been found, I may say. Some unique fossils. 2 miles from our town in Silas Peckham's cow pasture. They can be seen at the museum in our university at any time. I mean, at any reasonable time. So, shall I read some of Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation? Mean precipitation?
Afraid we won't have time for that, Professor. We might have a few words on the history of man here.
Yes. Anthropological data. Early American stock. Cotahatchee tracks. No evidence before the 10th century of this era. Possible traces in 3 families. Migration toward the end of the 17th century of English brachiocephalic Floyd stock. Since then, some Slav and
And
Mediterranean...
the population, Professor Willard.
Within the town limits, 2,640.
Oh, just a moment.
Oh yes, indeed. The population at the moment is 2,642. The postal district brings in 5 or 7 more, making the total of 3,149. Birth rates and mortality constant by Macpherson Scott, 6.032.
Thank you very much, Professor. We are very much obliged to you, I'm sure.
Not at all, ma'am. Not at all.
This way, Professor. Thank you again. Now, the political and social report, Editor Webb. Oh, Mr. Webb?
He'll be here in a minute. He just cut his hand while he was eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Charles, everybody's waiting!
Mr. Webb is publisher and editor of Robert's Corners Sentinel. That's our local paper, you know.
Well, I don't have to tell you that we are run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21. Women vote indirect. We're lower middle class,
including a professional man with 10% illiterate neighbors. Politically, we're 86% Republicans, 6% Democrats, 4% Socialists, rest indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestants, 12% Catholics, rest indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town, if you ask me. Little better behaved than most, probably a lot older. But our young people here seem to like it well enough. 90% of them graduating from high school settle down right here to live, even when they've been away to college.
Now, is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask Editor Webb anything about the town?
Is there much drinking in Grover's Corners?
Well, sir, I wouldn't know what you call much. Saturday nights, the farmers meet down in Ellery Greenaw's stable to holler some. We got 1 or 2 town drunks. But there are always remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, sir, I say liquor ain't a regular thing down in the home here, except in the medicine chest. Right up a snake bite, always was.
Is there no one in town?
Come forward, we can all hear you. What were you saying?
Is there no one in town aware of social injustice or industrial inequality?
Oh, yes, everybody is. Something terrible. Seems like they spend most of the time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Then why don't they do something about it?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're all hunting. Like everybody else, for a way, the diligent and sensible can rise to the top, and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. But it ain't easy to find. Meanwhile, we do all we can to help those that can't help themselves and those that can we leave alone.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now we are going back to the town. It's early afternoon. All 2,642 have had their dinners and all the dishes have been washed. There's early afternoon calm in our town, a buzzing and humming from those school buildings. Doc Gibbs is in his office tapping people and making them say, ah, ah. Mr. Webb is cutting his lawn over there. One man in town thinks it's privilege to push his own lawn more. Oh, no, sir. It's later than I thought. There are the children coming home from school already.
I can't Liz. I've got to go home and help my mother, I promise.
Emily? Well, simply, who do you think you are today?
Papa, you're terrible. One minute you tell me to stand up straight, and the next minute you call me names. I just don't listen to you.
Golly, I never got a kiss from such a great lady before.
Excuse me, Mrs. Forrest.
You want to play in the field, young man? You got no business playing baseball on Main Street.
Awfully sorry, Mrs. Forrest.
Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class.
Well, I worked an awful long time on the Louisiana purchase.
Gee, Emily, from my window up there, I can adjust your headlights. When you're doing your homework over in your room.
Why? Can you?
You certainly do stick to it, Emily. I don't see how you can sit still that long. I guess you like school.
Well, I always think Bill is something you have to go through.
Yeah.
I don't mind it really. It passes the time.
Yeah. Emily, what do you think? we might work out a kinda telegraph from your window to mine, and once in a while you could give me a kinda hint or two about one of those algebra problems. I don't mean the answers, Emily, of course not. Just some little hint.
Oh, I think hints are allowed. So, if you can stop George, you listen to me, and I'll be something.
Emily, you're just naturally bright, I guess.
I always figured that it's just the way a person's born.
Yeah, but you see, I want to be a farmer, and my Uncle Luke says whenever I'm ready, I can come over and work on his farm, and if I'm any good, I can just gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah, well, thanks. I better be getting out to the baseball field. Thanks for the talk, Emily. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George. Emily, come and help me string these beans for the winter. How old would George be?
I don't know.
Let's see. He must be almost 16. Mama, I made a speech in class today and I was very good. You must recite it to your father at supper. What was it about? The Louisiana Purchase. It was like Silk Hall was full. I'm going to make speeches all my life. Mama, are they big enough? Try and get them a little bigger if you can. Mama, will you answer me a question, please? Seriously, dear, not serious. Seriously. Will you? Of course I will. Mama, am I good looking? Yes, of course you are. All my children have got good pictures. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't. Oh, Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty? I've already told you yes. No, that's enough of that. You have a nice, young, pretty face. I never heard of such foolishness. Oh, Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything. I am telling you the truth. Mama, were you pretty? Yes, I was, if I just say it. I was the prettiest girl in town next to Mamie Cartwright. Oh, Mama, you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody? To get people interested in me? Emily, you make me tired. Now stop it. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes. Come along now and bring the bowl with you. Mama, you're no help at all.
Thank you. That'll do. I have to interrupt again here. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Thank you, Emily. There are some more things that we want to explore about the town. I think this is a good time to tell you that the Cartwright interest has just begun building a new bank in Grover's Corners. Had to go to Berman for the marvel, sorry to say. And they asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people to dig out 1,000 years from now. Of course, they put in the copy of the New York Times and the copy of Mr. Webb Sentinel. We are putting in a Bible and the Constitution of the United States and a copy of William Shakespeare plays. What do you think, folks? What do you say? You know, Babylon once had 2 million people in it. And all we know about him is the names of kings and some copies of weak contracts and contracts for the sales of slaves. Yet, every night, all those families sat down to supper and father came home from his work and the smoke went up the chimney. Same as here. And even in Greece and Rome, all we know about the real life of the people is what we can piece out of the joking poems and comedy they wrote for theater back then. So, I'm going to have a copy of this play put in the cornerstone. The people 1,000 years from now will know a few simple facts about us, more than the Treaty of Versailles or the Lindbergh flight. See what I mean? So, people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the provinces north of New York, the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were
into the world to get pleasure. Softer and softer. Get out of your head. The music is only good when it's loud. You live loudness to the masterpiece. You couldn't beat them, even if you wanted to. Now, again. Tenors.
Let's be the tide that binds.
Emily?
Hello.
Hello.
I can't work at all. The moonlight's so terrible.
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third.
Yes, George. That's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it. Emily, can you give me a hint?
I'll tell you one thing. The answer is in yards.
In yards. How do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh, in square yards.
Yes, George, don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Wallpaper. Oh, I see. Thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. My, isn't the moonlight terrible? And choir practice going on? I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the tune all the way to concert. Hear it?
Mm-hmm. What do you know?
Well, I guess I better go back and try to work.
Good night, Emily, and thanks.
Night, George.
Before I forget it, how many of you will be able to come in Tuesday afternoon and sing at Furnace's wedding? Show your hands. That will be fun. Oh, that will be right nice. We will do the same music we did for Jane Roberts' last miss. Now we will do Art Thou Weary, Art Thou Wrangling. It's a question, ladies and gentlemen. Make it talk. Ready? Art thou weary?
George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Pop.
Art thou sore distressed? Come to me, says one, and come with me and rest.
Make yourself comfortable, George. I don't want to keep you on this. George, how old are you?
I'm 16, almost 17.
What do you want to do after school's over?
Why, you know, Pop, I want to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
You'll be willing, will you, to get a volley and milk and feed the stock, and you'll be able to hold and hand with it.
Sure, I will. What do you mean, Pop?
Well, George, while I was in my office today, I heard a funny sound. It was your mother chopping wood. There's your mother, getting up early, cooking meals all day long, washing and ironing, and still she has to go out in the backyard and chop wood. I suppose she just got tired of asking you and decided it was easier to do it herself. And you eat her meals and put on the clothes she keeps nice for you, and you run off and play baseball. Just she's some hired girl we keep around the house but don't like very much. Here's a handkerchief. George, I've decided to raise your spending money, 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for shopping wood for your mother, because it's a present you give her, but because you're getting older.
Thanks, Pop.
Let's see. Tomorrow's your payday. You can count on it. Wonder what could happen to your mother. Her practice never was late as this before.
It's only 8:30, Pop.
Traipsing on the street at this hour of the night. Oh, just about time you retire, don't you think?
Yes, Pop.
Good night, Martha. Good night, Mr. Foster. I'll tell Mr. Van. I know he'll want to put it in the paper.
And if Dr. Ferguson keeps them under in his job, the only thing that the rest of us can do is just pretend not to notice it.
Not to notice it, but it's getting worse. No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have. My, I hate to go to bed on a night like this. I'd better hurry. Those children are staying up till long hours. Good night, Luella.
Can we get him safe, Luella?
Of course, it's as bright as day. I can see Mr. Soames calling at the window. You'd think that the child danced away, don't then carry on. Good night.
Well, we had a real good time tonight.
You're late,
Why? It ain't later than usual.
and you're stopping at the corner to gossip with a lot of hands.
Now, Frank, don't be grouchy. Come out and smell the heliotrope in the moonlight. Isn't it wonderful? What did you do all the time while I was away?
Oh, I read, as usual. What are the girls gossiping about tonight?
Believe me, Frank, there is something to gossip about.
Simon Stimson far gone, was he?
Worse than ever seen him. How will that end, Frank? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
Well, I guess I know more about Simon Stimson's affairs than anybody in this town. Some people ain't made for small town life. I don't know how that'll end, but there's nothing we can do but just leave it alone. Come, get it.
No, not yet. Frank, I think it's my duty to make plans for you to get a real rest and change. And if I get the legacy, I'm going to insist on
No,
it.
Julia, there's no sense in going over that again.
Oh, Frank, you're just unreasonable.
Come on, Julia, it's getting late. First thing you know, you'll catch a cold. Oh, I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you have a chat for a while anyway.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window. You were spoiling everything.
Well, let me look just a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no one there. Jules, do you know what I think? Do you? I think the moon's getting nearer and nearer, and there'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon are getting nearer, the guys that sit up all night with telescopes will see first and they tell about it. And you can know the newspapers.
Jules, is the moon shining on South America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Well, probably is.
Most of the lights out. No, there's a constable warrant trying a few doors on Main Street. Here comes Editor Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Good evening, Bill.
Evening, Mr. Webb.
Quite a moon.
Yeah,
All quiet tonight?
Simon Stimson is moving around the room. Just saw his wife moving out to hunt for him, so I looked the other way. Oh, there he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Town seems to have settled down for the night pretty well. Good evening. Yes, most of the town settled down for the night, Simon. I guess we better do the same. Can I walk along a ways with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's going to end, Mr. Webb.
Well, he's in a pack of trouble, one thing after another. Well, good night, Bill.
Night, Mr. Webb.
Who's that up there? Is that Shimoto?
No, it's me, Papa.
Why aren't you in bed? troubles on your mind, have you, Emily?
Troubles, Papa? No.
Well, enjoy yourself, but don't let your mother catch you. Well, good night, Emily.
Night, Papa.
I never heard about the letter Jane Crawford got from her minister when she was sick. He wrote Jane a letter, and on the envelope, the address was like this. It said, Jane Crawford, Crawford Farm, Roberts Corners, Southern County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
Tell me about that.
But listen, it's not finished. The United States of America, continent of North America, Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. That's what it said on the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman wrote it just the same.
What do you know?
That's the end of the first act, friends. Come by. Yes, the sun's come up over 1,000 times. Some babies that were not even born before have begun talking regular sentences already. A number of people who thought they are quite young and spry have noticed that they cannot bound up a flight of stairs like they used to, without their heart fluttering a little. All that can happen in 1,000 days. Nature has been pushing and contriving in other ways also. A lot of young people fell in love and got married. Almost everybody in the world gets married. You know what I mean? In our town, there aren't hardly any exceptions. Most everybody climbs into their grave married. The first act was called The Daily Life. This act is called Love and Marriage. There is another act coming after this, where I can't you guess what that's about. So, it's 3 years later. It's 1904, July 7th, just after high school commencement. As soon as they pass their last examination, solid geometry or scissor adoration, seems like they suddenly feel themselves fit to be married. It's early morning. Only this time, it's been raining, it's been pouring and thundering. Mrs. Gibbs' garden, Mrs. Webb's here, drenched. All those bean poles and pea vines, drenched. There, can hear the 5:45 for Boston. Here's Mrs. Webb and Mrs. Gibbs come back downstairs to make breakfast, as though it were an ordinary day. I don't have to point out to the women of my audience that those ladies they see before them, both of those ladies cook 3 meals a day. One of them for 20 years, the other for 40. And no summer vacation. They brought up 2 children apiece, washed and cleaned the house, and never a nervous breakdown. It's like what one of those Middle West poets said. You've got to love life to have life. You've got to have life to love life. It's what they call a vicious circle.
Get up, Bessie.
Here comes Javi Newsom delivering the milk. And there's a sea crow delivering the paper like his brother before him.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, C. Anything in the papers I have to know?
Nothing much, except to be listening about the best baseball player Robert Connors ever had, George Gibbs.
Reckon he is.
He could hit and run bases too.
Yeah, mighty fine ball player. Who, Bessie? I can stop and talk if I would mind to.
I don't see how he could give up a thing like that just to get married. Would you, Howie?
Can't tell. Never have no talent that way. You're up, Bully Bill.
there's anything I can do to prevent the flood. River's been rising all the time.
Seacross all worked up here about George Gibson's retiring from baseball.
Yes, sir, that's the way it goes. Howie, how's the weather look to you?
Oh, ain't bad. They get it clear for good.
Good morning, Howie. Do you think it's going to rain again?
Morning, Mrs. Gibb. It rains so heavy. Then get it clear out.
Certainly hope it will.
How much did you want today?
Well, I'm going to have a house full of relations, Howie. So I think 3 a minute can do a cream.
My wife says to tell you, we both hope they'll be very happy, Mrs. Gibbs. Well, they will.
Thank you. Tell your wife that I hope she gets there to the wedding.
Yeah, she'll be there. She'll be there if she can. Morning, Mrs. Webb.
Good morning, Mr. Newsom. I told you 4 quarts of milk
Yeah.
when you could spare me another.
And the top cream.
Will it start raining again, Mr. Newsom?
Well, just saying to Mrs. Gibbs, as how it may lie on. Mrs. Newsom told me to tell you, as how we hope they'll both be very happy, Mrs. Webb. They'll be well.
Thank you, and thank Mrs. Newsom and your countenance seeing you at the wedding.
Yeah, we hope to get there. Couldn't miss that. Come on, Bessie.
Well, my, the day has come. You're losing one of your teeth.
Now, don't you say another word, Frank. I feel like crying every minute. Just sit down and drink your coffee.
The groom's up shaving himself. Only there are awful lot to shave. Whistling and singing like he's glad to leave us. Every now and then he says I do to the mirror about it doesn't sound convincing to me.
I declare, Frank, I don't know how he'd get along. I've arranged his clothes into his to warm things on, but Frank, they're too young. Emily won't think of such things. He catches deaths of cold within a week.
I was remembering my wedding morning, Julia.
Now don't start that, Frank Gibbs.
I was the scaredest young fella in the state of New Hampshire. I thought I'd make a mistake for sure. And when I saw you coming down that aisle, I thought you were the prettiest girl that I've ever seen. But the only trouble was, I've never seen you before. There I was in congregational church, marrying a total stranger.
And how do you think I felt? Frank, weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces, that's what they are. Here, I've made something for you.
Why, Julia Hersey? French toast.
It ain't hard to make, and I had to do something.
How's your swim last night, Julia?
Well, I heard a lot of hours from her.
Yes, I get a shock every time I think of Jules setting out to be a family man. That great gangling thing. I tell you, Julia, there's nothing so terrifying in the world as a son. The relation of father and son is darndest awkward.
Well, mother and daughter's no picnic, let me tell you.
They have a lot of troubles, I suppose, but it's none of our business. Everybody's their right to their own troubles.
Yes. People are meant to live two by two. It ain't natural to be lonesome.
Julia, do you know one of the things I was scared managing everybody's business up there. She's hiding in her room. I got the impression she's crying.
Lord's sake, this has got to stop. Rebecca, Rebecca, come and get your breakfast.
Good morning, everybody. Only 5 more hours to leave.
George Gibbs, where do you think you're going?
Just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
It's raining torrents outside. Put on your overshoes. You're not getting out of this house without being prepared for it.
Oh, Ma, it's just a step.
George, you catch your death of cold and cover through the surface.
George, do as your mother tells you.
From tomorrow on, you can kill yourself in all weathers. But while you're under my roof, you live wisely, thank you. Here, pick up coffee first.
Be back in a minute. Good morning, Mother Ann.
Goodness, you frightened me. No, George, you can come in a minute out of the wet, but you know I can't just go in.
Why not?
George, you know as well as I do. No, the groom can't say his bride on his wedding day, not until he sees her in church.
That's just a superstition. Good morning, Mr. Red.
Good morning, George.
Mr. Red, you don't believe in a superstition, do you?
There's a lot of common sense in some superstition, George.
George, you don't want to be the first to fly in the face of custom.
How is Emily?
She hasn't waked up yet. I haven't heard a sound out of her.
Emily's asleep?
No wonder. We were up till all hours sewing and packing. Now I'll tell you what I'll do. You sit down here a minute with Mr. Webb and drink this cup of coffee. And I'll go upstairs and see she doesn't come down and surprise you. There's some bacon too, but don't be long about it.
Well, George, how are you?
Fine, I'm fine. Mr. Red, what sense could there be in a superstition like that?
Well, you see, on a wedding morning, a girl's hands have to be full of clothes and one thing and another. Don't you think that's probably it?
Yes. I never thought of that.
Girls have to be upmight nervous on a wedding day.
I wish a fellow could get married without all that marching up and down.
Every man that's ever lived has felt that way about it, George, but it hasn't been any use. It's the women folk who build the weddings, my boy. For a while now, all women have it all their own. A man looks pretty small at the wedding, George. All those good women standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure that a knot's tied in a mighty public way.
But you believe in it, don't you, Mr. Red?
Oh yes, don't you misunderstand me, my boy. Marriage is a wonderful thing. Yes, wonderful thing. And don't you forget that, George.
No, sir. And Mr. Red, how old were you when you got married?
Well, you see, I've been to college and I've taken a little time to get settled. Now, age hasn't much to do with it, George. Not compared with other things.
What are you going to say, Mr. Red?
Oh, I don't know. Was I going to say something? George, I was thinking the other night of some advice my father gave me when I got married. Charles, he said, Charles, start out early showing us fast. He said, best thing to do is to give an order, even if it don't make sense, just so she'll learn to obey. And he said, if anything about you might irritate your conversation or anything, just get up and leave the house. That will make it clear to her. He said, and oh yes, he said, never let your wife know how much money you have. Never!
Oh, Mr. Red, I don't think I could.
So, I took the opposite of my father's advice, and I've been acting ever since. And let that be a lesson to you, George. Never to ask advice on personal matters. to raise chickens on your farm?
Charles, are you talking about interview? I thought you should be talking about things worthwhile.
Well, Myrtle, if you want to give the boys some good advice, I'll go upstairs and leave you alone with them.
George, Emily's got to come downstairs and eat a breakfast. She sends you off, but she doesn't want to lay eyes on you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Myrtle, I guess you don't know about the older superstition.
What do you mean, Charles?
Since the caveman, no bridegroom should see his father-in-law on the day of the wedding or near it. Now remember that.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Webb. Now we have to interview again here. We all want to know how all this began. I'm awfully interested how big things like that begin. You know how it is. You are 21 or 22 and you make some decisions. Then, you are 70. You've been a lawyer for 50 years, and the white-haired lady at your side has eaten over 50,000 meals with you. How do such things begin? George and Emily are going to show you the conversation they had when they first knew that as the saying goes, that they were meant for one another. But before they do it, I want you to try and remember what it was like to have been very young, and particularly the days when you're first in love, when you're like a person sleepwalking. You are just a little bit crazy. Do you remember that, please? They will be coming out of school at 3 o'clock. George had just been elected as the president of his class, and Emily had just been elected as the secretary and treasurer. I don't have to tell you how important that is. Yep, there they are coming down Main Street now.
I can't, Liz. I got to go home. Goodbye. Oh, Ernestine. Ernestine, can you come over tonight and do Latin? Isn't necessarily the worst thing. Tell your mother you have to. Goodbye. Goodbye, Helen. Goodbye, Fred.
Can I carry your books home for you, Emily?
Why, thank you. It isn't far.
Excuse me a minute, Emily. Say, Bob, if I'm a little late, start practice anyway, and give her some long high ones.
Goodbye, Lizzie.
Goodbye, Lizzie. I'm awfully glad you elected too, Emily.
Thank you.
Emily, why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
You've been treating me so funny lately.
Well, since you asked me, I might as well say right off, George. Goodbye, Miss Kirkman.
Goodbye, Miss Cochran. What is it?